Did you know that Dragon Ball GT destroyed the Dragon Ball series? Let me explain why. Unlike Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which were based on Akira Toriyama's manga, Dragon Ball GT was entirely anime original, making it a risky departure from the source material. It premiered in 1996 and ran for 64 episodes, introducing new adventures and concepts. But despite its uniqueness, Dragon Ball GT failed to live up to its predecessors and ultimately did more harm than good to the franchise's legacy. Toriyama wasn't heavily involved in GT. By the time GT was in production, he'd finished his work on the manga and wanted a break. While he provided some input, like designs for a few characters and story elements, he referred to GT as a grand side story. It wasn't part of his main saga. And this is where things start to unravel. Without Toriyama's guiding hand, GT lacked the same cohesive vision and charm that made Dragon Ball Z so iconic. One of the biggest missteps was turning Goku into a child. This decision was supposed to invoke nostalgia for the early Dragon Ball days, but instead it felt like a massive step backwards. The stakes were lowered, and Goku, who had just defeated Majin Buu as an adult Super Saiyan 3, was now struggling against much weaker enemies. It created a disjointed power scale that confused fans. Super Saiyan 4 was one of the few things GT got right, kind of. The transformation had a primal, great ape-inspired design, and it could have been an incredible evolution of Saiyan power-ups. Even Toriyama praised the design, admitting it was something he might have done himself. But because it was introduced in GT, which isn't canon to the main saga, its potential was wasted. Imagine if Toriyama had used this concept in Dragon Ball Super, tying it to Goku's Journey to the West inspiration. It could have been called something like Primal Saiyan or True Saiyan, and fit perfectly into the lore. GT also introduced new villains like Baby, the Tuffle who sought revenge on the Saiyans, and the Shadow Dragons, born from overuse of the Dragon Balls. While these ideas had potential, they weren't executed as well as Frieza, Cell, or Majin Buu. Baby's arc was interesting but felt rushed, and the Shadow Dragons contradicted the original lore by rewriting how the Dragon Balls worked. These inconsistencies undermined the world-building that fans loved about DBZ. By making Dragon Ball GT non-canon, many of its ideas, like the Black Star Dragon Balls and Super Saiyan 4, are now irrelevant to the main series. And while Dragon Ball Super has done a great job bringing the franchise back, it's hard not to think about what could have been. Toriyama might have explored these ideas in his own way, but now we'll never know because GT tried and failed to implement them first. So did Dragon Ball GT destroy the Dragon Ball series? Not entirely, but it came close. By failing to build on DBZ's strengths, it diluted the franchise's legacy and squandered opportunities that could have enriched the story in the long run. GT wasn't all bad. Super Saiyan 4 remains iconic, but it lacked the vision and execution that made DBZ legendary. And that's why GT will always be remembered as the series that almost derailed Dragon Ball.